Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll start with the today's lecture that is based on basic input output system. As I already told you, this is normally called as a bias, and this is probably the best important implementation in a computer. So normally this bias is used in all the Windows systems. It is responsible for many functions. So let's see. In today's lecture, I'm going to introduce you the concept of bias. Then what are the functions of bias? Then how it is actually implemented into the bias. Then how what is the difference between bias and CMOS as such. Then with the bias, how you can start the computer, or that is a booting process of computer. I mean, how exactly the computer starts, or a different steps of starting a computer. This is what I'm going to cover today. So as I said, this bias is a standardized communication interface between computer hardware and operating system. So if anything you wish to operating system communicates to the hardware, or if operating system need to know certain information about the various hardware that are connected to the computer, it always refers to the bias. What is bias basically? Bias is a small ROM chip that is on PC motherboard. In this small ROM chip, there is a small software program that is required for necessary post operation, that is power on cell test operations, as well as these operations also start the basic operation of a computer. In fact, it is responsible for starting the PC. In other words, I will say BIOS is a firmware. As you know, firmware is a combination of hardware as well as software. That is why I say ROM is a chip, so it is a hardware. As well, it contains a small program. That is why we can also say it is a software. So the combination of these two is called as a firmware. How this BIOS exists on your machine? So you will find there are three pictures I have shown here. The first one is related to AMI BIOS, that is the company that produces that particular BIOS. Remember, basic input output system, it is a ROM chip, and this is devised by manufacturer. Many manufacturers are there, and they actually implement how their system is configured as well as how their system will boot. Another is the BIOS chip. Third is also shown as the old AMI BIOS chip. Then these are the three chips which you can normally locate onto your motherboard. At the same time, now if you see the last 3, 4, 5 years scenario, that is when computers like i3, i5, and i7 came into the market. There is now concept of bias is now being superseded by a new technology that is called as UEFI, Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. I mean, the BIOS is switching over from BIOS to the UEFI technology. Of course, the legacy of the BIOS is same. BIOS concept is still implemented it is, but there is option to the user to switch over between UEFI or BIOS. This is basically again given a this is for improvement in operating system, and so many not many features are now added into your system, and hence I will say UEFI. Henceforth, if you are purchasing a system or if you are purchasing a motherboard, you have to see that whether it is UEFI compliant or not. This is my suggestions to you. Okay, now if you see basic BIOS, there are three types of BIOS available. One is permanent, which never change. It is actually implemented in the device permanently. So it is stored permanently on the ROM chip. For example, keyboard. Like keyboard controller, it is there. It is firm. It is not changed at all. So its routine or a character map or a controller or a detecting a key and transferring its code to the machine is the same. That will never change throughout the life of that particular hardware. So it is burnt or it is permanent. Another bias is normally if you want to configure your computers. Just for example, if you want to store date and time into this, or if you want to use set up the password so that nobody will go into the bias, or one has to give the password to start the system, or if you want to make your driver device bootable from which device you wish to start. I mean, you can make your system bootable from either pen drive or maybe from optical disk or from hard disk, or even you can start your uh, computer from what we call as a network. So here for these configurations you need to set up this. That means you have to store certain way information, you have to update or modify existing information. So this type of information is normally stored on a chip that is called as a CMOS. CMOS is normally a will found out CMOS normally will found as a part of South Bridge. So of course CMOS is a you can update or you can change the data onto this. So normally it has this type of software available on RAM hard drives as well as floppy drives. Another options available was BIOS can be stored on the card itself or on the device itself, just like sound cards. They were by certain configurations or setting is also done onto this. So these are the different types of BIOSes were available. But we normally consider the BIOS chip which is actually stored onto your motherboard, and that we are going to refer that as a BIOS. So we'll see what are the functions of the BIOS. Basic function of a BIOS is to detect and configure the PC hardware component. That means whatever the computer devices that are attached to the computer, it should check, it should detect, and it should configure those devices. At the same time, it will also tell you whether the device is working or not working. Okay, then it will also find the next function of a BIOS is to find the bootable drive, which is from which drive you want to start the computer. It may be floppy disk, hard drive, CD-ROM, even it can be, as I said, it can be pen drive or it can be network drive also. It is normally used to set up the passwords or it is also used to set the date and time of a system. Once it is set, that this will continue as long as your battery is alive. That means batteries continue whatever these changes we make, the password or date and time or a bootable drive, it is actually stored into CMOS. And this CMOS is continuously powered by a lithium battery of 3 volts. As long as the power, this DC power is there, these settings will be there. Normally this battery life is about 3 years. So if you have a problem of date and time which you have to set at every time you start up the computer, that means your battery is drained out. Other functions of the BIOS is that it initializes the video card as well as other devices. Once the video card is initialized, then it starts the PC screen. That means once video card is initialized, you will be able to see onto your screen. You also find most of the time there is a memory test. It checks how much memory is available. At the same time, it also sets certain parameters of the memory like DRAM, how much time or what should be the frequency of refreshing that particular RAM. It also configures most of the plug and play devices during boot operations. It also gives post error messages. Post, I mean power on self test. Whenever you say power on self test, at that time, computer during boot process will see the functions of post. But here these error messages or beep codes are normally shown if there is any error. As I said, the very first process, once you power on, first computer executes its test that is called as the post power on self test. Whenever you on the power, computer will execute its own test and it will check the various devices and the working conditions of those devices. If any faulty devices it founds, it will give the corresponding error either on the screen, or it may give certain beep sound from the loudspeaker, which experienced user or a technician can very easily understand what is the problem with the machine. Another functions of the then it also identifies the boot devices and it reads the boot sector. This is a very important operations of a BIOS. And he has to identify which is a bootable device. Once he identifies the bootable device, it will read the boot sector 0, that is master boot record. We have already seen now what is MBR. Then that content of MBR is actually loaded into fixed memory location, that is 0x7C00, and it automatically jumps to that address. Then through this location, MBR code looks through the partition table and loads the bootloader information, that is in the form of bootstrap information. There can be one single bootloader or there can be multiple two portions of a bootloader. This can be directly loaded from that MBR, or it can be loaded from another bootloader. And once that information computer gets, then it starts booting a computer. So these are the some of the major functions of BIOS. See, this is a one screen of showing Phoenix Award BIOS. That is a CMOS utility or a setup utility, you can say, through which you can change most of the settings of your computer. Whenever you have standard CMOS features, under this standard CMOS feature, if you click this particular button, then under this you will be able to set your maybe certain features of a keyboard. That is whether that numlock should be on during start or during shall not be on during start. Then at the same time, date and time. At this, you can also in advanced features, you can set up your user password or even supervisor password. If you set a supervisor password, nobody will be able to change your BIOS setting, as well as nobody will be able to start up your computers. So that setting is there. Then advanced chipset features, that is you can configure some basic configuration of North Bridge and South Bridge. Then there are certain integrated peripherals like hard disk configurations or sound card configurations you can set up through this. Power management features are set up through this, that what should be the power, what is exactly power is being given, and what is the current power, whether it is exactly 5 volt or 4.9 volts or 5.1 volts. Then you can also plug and play devices or PCI configuration, that is the bus configuration, the speed of buses, etc. That can be seen. You can also see the PC health status, that means how your PC is, whether in what condition. Basically, what is the cooling, maybe what is the temperature, what is the fan speed, etc. And that can be set through this. Then load fail safes defaults value. That means if there is anything problem into it, you can load the default value. If any changes are there and you came into problem, and if you want to set your factory settings, that is possible by using these save defaults values. You can also load certain optimized defaults value. You can set supervisor password or user password. You can save and exit the setup. That means by pressing F10, you can save and exit this particular screen, or without exiting, if you will just press escape or this particular option you select. So this is again a DOS based utility or text based utility. Against this text based utility, you'll find in UEFI, this is purely a graphics utility. This is the basic difference between older BIOS and the new BIOS, or you'll say UEFI coming with your new computer system. That is also text based, as well as more or less it is graphic based. So these are the settings of the BIOS. Then how you can enter into the BIOS, because if you want to change these settings, machine setting, you have to go into the BIOS. Who can go into the BIOS? If there is no password set into the BIOS, then you can go into the BIOS. If there is a password set, then you should know the password for that BIOS. Then only you can go into the BIOS settings. By default, you can go to the BIOS setting by pressing most common keys are delete and F2. Most of the system uses F2 key for BIOS. Some manufacturers do use delete key. Some manufacturers escape or F12 are also used by some of the manufacturers. So these are the common keys used to enter inside the BIOS. You can check the boot up menu by F11 key, or F10 can also be used for BIOS recovery utility. So this is option will be useful when you need to go to the BIOS. Probably very first question I will say, if you want to set your data, if you want to send your bootable, if you want to set your bootable drive, which drive you want to change, then in that case you have to go into the BIOS. If you have a bootable drive, bootable pen drive, and if you want to upgrade your operating system or install new operating system, then in that case you need to set a bootable drive as a pen drive into BIOS. Then during starting of computer, it will search first the pen drive, and then from this pen drive it is possible to load your operating system file. So that is why for any changes in the setting you need to go into the BIOS. Then these are the different manufacturers of the BIOS. So Compact was one of the manufacturer of a BIOS. Then Phoenix, as you say, this Phoenix produces Howard BIOS. Then AMI BIOS, MR BIOS, and IBM BIOS. These are the popular BIOSes used by different motherboard manufacturers. And these BIOS chips is actually put onto your motherboard, and this is responsible for whatever the small boot program that is actually loaded into your BIOS. So these are the different manufacturers of a BIOS. Then we'll come to the very important part of your computer, that what is the booting process sequence. That means what happens when you power on the machine till you get the desktop onto your system. When you say that your system has started, nowadays you say that your system is started, that means you can interact with the computer only when you will be able to see the desktop onto your computer. Unless you get a desktop, you know that you cannot work with the system. So what are the things happen behind this process till you press the button till you get the desktop? These are the sequences which I'm going to explain you now. First, you switch on the machine. That means you power on the machine. Or sometimes, if the computer hangs, you also you also press the reset button. That means you give the power to the system. Once that power is given to the system, immediately your switch mode power supply, that is SMPS, starts. SMPS immediately generates a power good signal after settling its voltages. These voltages are settled in certain milliseconds. This PGS signal is given to the motherboard. Once this signal is given to the motherboard, then motherboard starts and it generates a reset signal, which is applied to the CPU reset pin. Because whenever you give the power to the motherboard, you will find CPUs will be in a state of amnesia. That means, there is nothing in a CPU. No instruction is pending for execution. It is a blank or empty CPU. So when it gets the reset signal from the CPU, very first what it does, CPU does, it resets all its registers to 0. All the registers of the CPU are set to the 0 except 2 registers, that is code segment register and program counter. So you know already what is program counter. Actually, it keeps track of the instruction to be executed. And the code segment, that is the from where it is a memory pointer. In fact, here this CS is initialized to 0xF00 and PC is initialized to 0xFF0. These are the two initialization of the two register as soon as it receives the reset signal on a reset pin of CPU. Then immediately the instruction 20-bit address is formed. If you know microcontroller or 8086, it actually use the offset addresses. So code segment address is left shifted by 4 bits. So 0FF0 will be shifted by 4 positions on the left. So obviously it will contain what is we call say 0xFF00, and then after shifting this particular content of program counter is added. So obviously if when it is shifted by 4 bits, that means F00 will become F. After F there will be 4 zeros now. Okay, then that means 20-bit address will be formed. That F40 will be added with this 0xFF0. That means this 3F0 will be added. So ultimately you will have an address something like 0xFFF0. So once you get this particular address 0xFFFF0, it is always a starting address of BIOS. Remember, in all the Windows based system which uses Intel or AMD as a processor, their starting address of BIOS is always fixed, and it is always 0x4F and 0. Then up now you know that now when you have a 4F and 0, how much memory it is there? So obviously it is a 20-bit address. So obviously it is a 1 MB of memory. For 1 MB memory of operation, if you want to exactly refer the real location, you need to switch into your real mode. That is why now process is set to a real mode so that it can directly jump to this particular memory location. Once is now this PC jumps to this particular instruction, then first instruction is fetch from 0xFF0, which is the starting address of BIOS memory. Once it is fetched, then immediately after this instruction, it executes the next instruction that is called as power on self test, that is post test. This post test initialize the video card. Once video card is initialized, then it starts PC screen so that you'll see some activities on the PC screen. Most of the time during this time, if you able to see something on a screen, that indicates that your video card is good. If there is nothing on after switching on, nothing comes on your video screen, it is certain procedure post test or a certain message of post test or a BIOS or a startup BIOS or a memory checking. This type of operations you normally see onto your screen based on the how manufacturer has configured that particular computer. Then it performs the memory test. Actually, it counts the maximum memory. It sets certain parameters like refreshing frequency of the DRAM. Okay, then it configures all the plug and play devices available and connected to the system. It assigns resources, DMA channel and interrupt requests, that is IRQs. Then most importantly, that is the next step, it identifies the boot devices. When I say boot devices, I mean here you are where which is boot devices, it come to know from this, that is which is a boot device. It can be now it can be floppy disk, it can be hard disk, it can be optical disk, or it can be even I will say pen drive, or it can be network card. Once it identifies the boot device, then it will directly reads, because on every boot device you will find there is a MBR, that is boot sector 0, master boot record, that is 512 bytes record. It takes that particular record into a memory location that is again a fixed memory location. That MBR is loaded at 0x7C00 location, and PC direct program counter jumps to this particular address. Once that means this is when MBR is loaded, MBR 512 bytes actually starts from 0x7C00. Then you are operating, then MBR will code look through the partition table. It has got a small program. This program will check now the partition table and it will decide whether to load the bootloader or it has to directly start loading the OS. Most of the times, bootloader is loaded. In case of operating system till Windows 95, there was a small program called as a bootstrap information, a bootstrap loader. It is actually taken into the memory starting from 0x700, and then bootloader gives the instruction, and then this once bootloader is loaded into the memory, then it starts OS and it completely hand over the computer to the operating system. See, up to this particular point, all the operations executed are by the BIOS. No operating system is coming into the picture. So once your bootloader information is stored, in bootloader information there is an address or there is a name of a bootable file, something like io.sys, ms.sys, or maybe in advanced Windows system like XP there is NTLDR. In Windows 7, 8, 10 there is a boot mgr file. So these files are actually start loaded, and once those files are started loaded, then we can say that operating system has taken over your computer from your BIOS. So this is a switching from BIOS stage to the OS stage. Then, as I said, bootloader will start loading the operating system. This bootloader will also disable certain interrupts. Then once boot operating system starts, operating system will set up its own GDT, that is global descriptor table. That is actually this is a data structure that is used by Intel X6 family and 802X processor to define the various characteristics of various memory areas. So those who are present on Tuesday, they will understand now what is the memory areas. So yes, that time I told you for 1 MB, there are 4 important memory areas. One is called as a conventional memory or base memory, then upper memory area, then there can be extended memory or there can be expanded memory. Based on how you have to utilize expanded memory or extended memory, there are certain device drivers like emm386.exe or hymem.sys. These are the two files which take care of your memory management. So this is GDT is based. What this GDT does actually, it gives the base addresses to the various memory. It also defines the size of that particular memory, and as it is working in a protected mode, so it also defines the size, access privilege, like which file will be executable, no, which file will be writable, where you can who can execute and who can write. Okay, so these rights are set. Then obviously after this, processor will switch over from real mode to protected mode, because you have to utilize the memory above 1 MB. And to utilize the memory to above 1 MB memory, you need to switch from real mode to protected mode. Then after this, your operating system, now it will start read operating system from the disk. That means various files which forms as a part of operating system. One after the another, those files uh, will be loaded. That we'll see in tomorrow's lecture or maybe on Monday, that how your DOS boots, then maybe how your 95 systems boot, 95, 98. Then most popular in OS was XP. There were certain changes in XP booting. Then from XP, the last mostly we'll see the DOS, XP and Windows 7, 8 and 10. Their procedure is almost same. Starting Windows 7 or Windows 8 or even Windows 10, their files of operations for booting almost are same. Then it sets up the virtual memory. You know what is the virtual memory now? That is a memory which is beyond 1 MB. So what will be the, it will, what if you really wish to use your entire memory, that is could be 4 GB, 8 GB, then one entire 8 GB or 4 GB will be set up by this particular virtual memory. And then in that memory, most of the parts of the operating systems or most of the files of the operating system will be loaded. Then after loading, it will initialize when operating system starts loading its files. It also initialize certain interrupt vectors, IRQs, then timers, monitors, hard disk, consoles. Then it's also set up the file system into the RAM. Then like files, buffers, and FAT is actually loaded into the system. Then other processors are also, if there are multiple processors, then other processors are also started by using this boot processor. Then after this initialization, then startup user processes, then operating system start the user processes. Every operating system, whether it's a Mac or a Unix or a Windows, it has got a shell program. This shell program is called, it is actually responsible for interaction with the user. Whatever the command you type, that should be accepted or recognized by the operating system. In DOS-based system, Windows.com was the command interpreter. In Windows file, Explorer.exe is your shell interpreter. Remember, when Explorer.exe is executed, then only it will start loading your desktop onto your machine or onto your screen. If in Explorer.exe is not executed, then you will never able to see your desktop. So in other words, shell program of Windows is Explorer.exe. Once Explorer.exe is loaded, desktop appears, means operating system is successfully started. So these are the basic operations. 20-25 steps are there, that how exactly your computer system starts, right from when you switch on the system then till your desktop appears. So this is the flowchart, actually tells you what are the BIOS functions. Just turn on the machine, then pass through the post error free, that is power on self test. If there is no error, if there is any error, output that error will be shown onto the monitor. If there is no error, some beep will be sound, that is off, all functioning, all computers parts are working fine. A small beep you normally able to heard, provided there is a speaker to your machine. Nowadays machines, if you see our machines coming in our college, that is i3 or i5 machines, now those machines have removed their loudspeakers also. That means there is no speaker inside the system, so you will not be able to see heard these particular beeps. Maybe for this particular advanced system, you don't need these type of beeps, and they are more rely on UEFI. They are also rely on more video error codes onto your screen rather than beep codes. Okay, after post, plug and play devices will be initialized. Then it will test the boot drive, which is a bootable drive. Then it will search that particular bootable media onto that particular drive. If it founds that particular bootable media, then it will load that boot program into at memory location, as I said, 0xC00, 0xC700H. That fixed memory location, that bootstrap loader will be loaded, and it will start executing the instruction one after the another, and it will start calling the files. One file is called, that is ms.sys. ms.sys will call io.sys. io.sys will call command.com, and once command.com is there ready, it will install into the memory. That means then familiar C prompt you will be able to see. This is the basic operation of how DOS starts. Then probably if you have a window, then different types of machines will start. Okay, then this is what called as a load board program, and then finally your operating system will start. Okay, let us say now in brief again how this BIOS setup program is. As I said earlier, you have a CPU will be in real mode. In real mode, what will happen? BIOS initialization will be there. BIOS initialization is done by pressing what we call as an by CPU through motherboard then detecting a boot drive, then finding the master boot record. Once it has the master boot record, BIOS initialization, it actually takes care of your posts. Then once post is finished, it will search for boot record. Once boot record is fine, then it will load that bootstrap information that is called as a bootloader. This bootloader will find out what is exactly which files are there. So these files are basically a kernel files which loads the kernels of the operating system. Like io.sys and ms.sys, these are the kernel of DOS operating system. So it will load into the memory. Then once all these basic devices are initialized, then you have to start the application program, and application programs will be normally executed above the 1 MB. So obviously this processor needs to switch over from real mode to protected mode. Then CPU switch it into protected mode, then full kernel will be initialized, and then first user mode process will start, something like, as I said, command.com in case of MS-DOS, or explorer.exe in case of Windows. This once this user process start, then from this user process, then it then based on the user can start any number of applications. Once you get the desktop, you know how to start the rest of the uh, processes or rest of the services, I will say. There is another where, of course, this is a very simple idea that I have given to you. There are certain complications involved into during these boot processes. So many files are involved. There are certain many steps again in between are there when you switch to the Windows operating system. So details of this I'll explain you uh, on Monday. That is how actually Windows 7, 8, and Windows 10 starts. Of course, the basic operation is same, but somewhat will be going in detail. So what you have today you have to understand is that basically what is BIOS, that is basic input output system. Hope you have understood now what is the functions of BIOS. What exactly BIOS is? BIOS is a small ROM chip that is fixed onto your motherboard. It has got the fixed starting address where actually BIOS is stored onto this ROM chip. That is actually a bootloader. What BIOS is, as we say, BIOS is the interface between the user and the hardware. Normally, we say operating system is the interface between the user and hardware. But what is basically BIOS is? BIOS is the interface between hardware and the this interface between your hardware and the operating system. If operating system needs to do certain operations, or operating system needs to start the computers in a way how it is configured, then it has to look into the BIOS. It actually checks the BIOS or the settings of the BIOS, and then it starts. So this is the so in what is inside the BIOS setup program, you will find the same. Whatever I explain you this particular BIOS, it is this is the something set what is inside this particular BIOS. So at the end, what you need to conclude today, I can conclude BIOS is an integral part of your computer. It can be used to specify how your computer boots, and even prevent hardware from showing up in Windows. It can enable and disable our hardware. We should not change the configuration unless you should not play with the BIOS. If you know the BIOS, then only you change the BIOS. Even if you change the BIOS, you can set, if there is any problem, you can reset the BIOS to its default settings. Okay, so see, in fact, it gives you the entire life of our, if you have a better BIOS, then it actually better controls your systems and gives the better life to your computer system. So this is all about BIOS. Next lecture I will explain you again the another way of explaining the boot system, and then I'll explain you about Windows DOS system, then XP system, and Windows 7 and 10, and Windows 7, 8, and 10, how actually it starts. So this will give you some basic ideas, and then you will be Why we are studying bias basically? Because once your concept of related to bias is good, then you can very easily diagnose the various problems during startup, or you can very easily do certain troubleshooting if you have a better idea of a bias. So let's stop today. If you have got any difficulties, you may ask your difficulties now.